For those that missed it last week, or at this point it's been a little longer than a week, the scheduled banned and restricted announcement was revealed. No changes were put in Classic Constructed. Blitz was turned on its head because Zephyr Needle and Traverse were banned and Crown of Seeds came back. But that's not what we're talking about today, because something down here is quite interesting. Over in Commoner, Rosetta Thorn, Waning Moon, Zephyr Needle were all banned. And the reasoning happens down here. And I like this reasoning and I want to bring it to you. So I'm going to read it for just a moment. With such a prominent focus on numbers, it makes sense that the decks which leverage the most powerful and number efficient stay in play weapons routinely rise to the top. Ira, Chain, and Icelander have cast a sizable shadow over the Commoner metagame, and when looking at the bans, it was hard to imagine any individual deck ban could release their stranglehold. So they are targeting these sit and play, stay and play weapons. It's intended to bring both churn to the meta by bringing the best decks down and offering potential opportunities for classes who don't have access to those weapons to compete on an even footing. Now, Zephyr Needle is now banned in every format. It's banned in CC, it's banned in Blitz, it's banned in Commoner. Rosetta Thorn is no longer in any format except, of course, these are all, by the way, available to be played in Living Legends, right? So Rosetta Thorn, same thing. None of the heroes that literally Briar's just out of all the formats. So of course she doesn't bring access to playing Rosetta Thorn to the other Earth heroes, the other Runeblade heroes specifically in the meta. So Waning Moon is the only one on these three of the big three that is still available to be played in the other formats. And it begs the question, if these other weapons can be sort of considered as part of this big three along with Waning Moon, and in a format where the stranglehold on the meta is predicated on the good numbers that this weapon can provide, along with these other two, of course, do we ever see a world where Waning Moon needs to be removed from Blitz or from Classic Constructed? Why? Well, here's the reason why this question matters. Because it's not just a matter of power level. Like if we look at Waning Moon is not the most broken weapon in existence. It is a very good wizard staff. In fact, it's arguably the best wizard staff. It is a once per turn instant, pay 2. You deal 2 arcane damage to target hero. So it's literally instant speed, pay 2, deal 2. If it's on your opponent's turn, you pay 2 and deal 3. Now you can only do this if you've played a non-attack action card on their turn or on your turn, so you can only activate it then. You've had to have played something. But that's what wizards do. They play non-attack action cards. And so what we have in the wizard class is a bit of a conundrum in that Waning Moon, and this of course being a Flesh and Blood being an eternal format game, Waning Moon is so good that there's almost no way to power creep this card and have the card that ends up being better than it surviving. Like is the best way to say it. Here's an example. So like we can actually do this. We'll just go class, we'll pick wizard, and then we will choose type and we will choose weapon, and then we will look at all the wizard weapons. Okay, so and I'll zoom out for us all to be able to see. Okay, so here are the wizard weapons available. Now, the class, they're all class-based. The non-elemental, the non-earth, the non-lightning weapons. These are just the non-talented weapons. Aether Conduit is objectively terrible. It is once per turn action, pay 2, deal 2. Crucible is fantastic in Kano, and of course being Kano's signature weapon, it can't be played in Blitz anymore. It can be played in Commoner. It can't really be played in CC outside of Kano. Like you're not playing this in really any wizard. Well, first of all, he's the only wizard in CC, but like even if a wizard showed up, like if let's say they release Blaze in the CC format, she's not playing this. Okay, there's no reason for her to really play this because Waning Moon's better. Kraken's Aether Vein is not playable in CC because Icelander is gone, and spoiler alert, this is Icelander's signature weapon. Shocking, I know, but they released at the same time, which is funny because I got Steve Argyle to sign both of them, which is pretty hilarious because now everyone plays Waning Moon when they first came out. Seer Stone is... I don't even know why this card exists. Like what... Who, why, when, where, all of the superlatives. Doesn't even make sense. Staff of Verdant Shoots is not available to most wizards because it is an Earth wizard weapon. So this is literally just the signature weapon for Verdants, and it's not very good. The Volzar, same thing. It's a very good weapon for exactly Acilio and cannot be used by anybody else. And then we are left with Surgeon Aethertide, a card that can be very good, specifically in Verdants, and it can be solid in other heroes. And in fact, it's actually probably my favorite wizard weapon. And yet, it pales in comparison to just the pure numbers of Waning Moon. And you look at all these and you think to yourself, okay, so there's a couple of different ways that they can take the design space of this pot of cards right here. One, they can make more targeted cards like Volzar, a powerful card, a powerful weapon that starts in play and stays in play for exactly the one hero that uses it, and no one else can use it, okay? They can do that. That's one way that they can tackle things. Two, they can create something like Surgeon Aethertide that's a little bit of a step down in power level compared to something like a Waning Moon, but could have some ancillary synergies that do some really cool things. Like this one, for example, essentially amps the next spell that you play, which is cool and could do some, especially with the tie-ins of keywords and Surge being a thing that's not great. They could maybe find a way to build onto that you could decide, if I want to build a wizard in a slightly different archetype, this might be the weapon for me. For example, I would build Surgeon Aethertide Kano and play a little bit of that, bring that to armories where you could basically just play as Kano and then throw some attacks after you Surgeon Aethertide and bait a card out, right? That's a pretty cool side step. But all of it is just outclassed by the pure numbers of Waning Moon. And so the third option is to create something more powerful than Waning Moon. And how do you create something more powerful just in a vacuum than Waning Moon? Obviously, you can create something more synergistic, kind of like Surgeon Aethertide. You can create something that's more like it's a generic weapon, but it's really meant for one specific hero, like Volzar is technically only for one specific hero, but you can make a generic weapon that is really only good in one specific hero. Or you can do the impossible, which I guess is not impossible. You can make this deal 4 damage on your opponent's turn. You can make a weapon that is more powerful, strictly more powerful than Waning Moon. And so that's the problem that I think we have with Waning Moon. Is this a weapon that will exit the format at some point in Blitz and Classic Constructed because it's just too good? Is this the like Command and Conquer of wizard weapons? Is this too much of a problem to exist that it kind of covers up too much design space and doesn't give other weapons the chance to shine? Like Seer Stone? No, I can't even say that with a straight face. Like, what's the point? I mean, what's the point? Maybe build a hero around Seer Stone, but even then, what's the point? I'm not sure. That's the real question I've been thinking about, because after seeing this banned and restricted announcement and reading the argument here, I thought to myself, you know, there's a real world where this weapon in an Eternal format game just can't survive. It can't last because it fits in every wizard. And unless they do this, which is where I think they'll probably end up, creating hero-specific weapons, which doesn't feed the overall like class, but it targets the hero and tells them this is how you're going to play your hero. Unless they do that for all of the rest of the heroes in perpetuity until the end of time for wizards, Waning Moon will continue to be just an absurdly good weapon. So there's a real possibility that one day in Blitz, one day in Classic Constructed, that weapon might need to go. But I'm curious. This is more of a talking head, a thing I've been thinking about. rambling, if you will. If you like this type of content where I just talk about things that I've been thinking about, let me know in a comment below. And do you think Waning Moon needs to go? Is this a card that poses a significant problem in the long-term health of wizard weapons in general? I know that's an incredibly niche topic in an already niche game, in an already niche on YouTube, but you know, all 12 of you that watched till the end of this, you're my favorites. That's why we do this here. Press the button, make the number go to the other number. As always, thanks for watching.